stvarno je geografija usud. Latinskoj Americi se zalomilo da živi u najbližem susedstvu Sjedinjenih država, a kako izgleda kada ste u čeličnom zagrlju Amerike, otkriva večeras Facundo Seara iz Argentine. Seara je argentinski istoričar i novinar, inače veliki ljubitelj Srbije i Rusije. Facundo, hello. Good evening. Welcome to RT and welcome to Serbia. I know you're a big fan, so welcome to Belgrade. How are things going in Latin America? We had a little talk just before the interview. In the shadows of the Iranian war, the Cuba-USA negotiations have started, and more or less we do not know anything about that. So what's the deal there? Is that like a friendly acquisition of Cuba that Trump is committing, or what is going on?
For sure. First of all, good evening, Maria. It's nice to meet you, to talk to you. In Latin America in general, the situation is really complicated. It's not acceptable for the situation that is happening with the war in Iran. Miguel Díaz-Canel, I want to tell you that in Latin America, maybe you can say Argentina and Cuba, we are similar, we are close, but it's not like this, for sure.
The thing that actually really connects you, that's Donald Trump and his policy. And that's why I'm asking you what's going on. So let's start with Cuba. Cuba is on the hotspot now.
For sure. Yes. I know that Miguel Díaz-Canel is having a really tough situation in how to handle the power. It's not an easy position he's having right now. Even though not only right now, in the last 20 years, if you look the history of Cuba, you can probably die that the situation with the states is complicated. For sure, I am not aware of this sooner communication he's having, but I can tell you that it's not nice. It's complicated, even though in Venezuela it's happened the same situation. But for example, I get noticed that yesterday PDVSA, the national industry of oil of Venezuela, they make an agreement with an Italian company. So we are. You tell me about Trump. I can tell you that the mainstream and the mass medias that we are looking here in Argentina, even though are like really not controlled, but we are looking only one side of the communication. Milei is like the first puppet of Trump. So I can tell you that we don't have any, how can I tell you, confidence in the situation that is happening right now in Cuba. But we know that I have friends that visit there in this month before, and at least people told me that the situation is similar for 10 years ago.
So you have mentioned several times Venezuela, and the goal of Donald Trump there was obvious. He wanted Venezuelan oil. What does he want out of Cuba? Is it security issues? Is it geostrategy? What's the deal with Cuba for so long?
I think you are correct, Maria. It's a strategy, it's a geopolitical situation that they always try to handle. It's really close to the Bay of Miami. They are not. We were not living in the 70s for sure. The war has changed, but that is a real issue to talk about. Maybe like. I am a history teacher and I work like a researcher. I always try to put some examples in the history situation. And for sure, we are not living in the 70s, but for sure that we have a lot of goals or situations that are similar. For example, in our case with Malvinas, it's the same situation. It's really funny here now some journalists or people similar to Milei that they are asking that, or they are putting some kind of hypothesis that Trump is going to help us to recover our sovereignty in Malvinas, and it's funny, I can understand, the difference between the Democrats and Republicans and so on, and that, but think about that is crazy, and the way of Cuba is the same situation. When Latin America have some governments that you can agree or disagree, but that have some kind of sovereignty policy and flags. Always Cuba have a really important support, not only in the pragmatical way, even though in the symbolic way. So I think it's not only pragmatics or even economic stuff. I think the symbolic situation for a president of the States to finish with the Cuba Communist Party, even for sure that Díaz-Canel is not Fidel Castro, for sure that Cuba today is really different to Cuba 40 years ago, but it has for me a really important symbolic situation, and I think Trump is the same situation with Iran. You can look that it's not the same for sure, but Iran, Trump is all the time saying, I am making a lot of things that the last government they don't do, and the Iranian regime. So I am going to be the president who is going to put finish of this kind of regime. The same he do with Venezuela. He's some kind of megalomaniac. I don't know the name in English. Sorry, I know you understand me, but I think going back to Cuba, that it's not only a strategy situation; it's a symbolic stuff as well. And I think for sure.
And in a way, actually, he's copying what he has done to Iran previously, before the war started, with what he's doing in Cuba. You remember that actually first, before the war, he crashed the currency in Iran to make the demonstrations and try to turn on the government to throw them out of power. And now with this energy blockade in Cuba. I want to ask you this. He said in one of his, how can I describe that, ludicrous moments, he said actually that maybe he will attack Cuba from his way back from Iran. Do you think that's a possibility if he has, if he would have been defeated in Iran, if he suffers a serious defeat, that he's going to turn to Cuba and to make a victory for his domestic audience to say, look, I won?
Look, looking with carefully how is the war going today, I can't believe everything. Nothing is impossible. When I remember the day that the states, they make this kind of like mission to put in jail Nicolas Maduro, and I remember I turn on the TV, I say it's unbelievable, and it happened. The same situation with Iran and happened. So for sure that it's complicated to say yes or no, but in my case, it wouldn't surprise that kind of act. And I think in the way of his thinking, this second government, maybe I don't know if he's thinking all the time in how it's going to be remembered in the history, and more a pragmatical politic like Trump. But I think when I saw what he do with Iran, with Venezuela, and with Cuba now pushing forward the negotiations, I think it's only a small hypothesis from my part, but I think he wants to be remembered like the president who put in order all the chaos and all the inefficient last governments have the states. No, so at least we have to be careful. Well, in Argentina, nothing is going to happen because we never have a government so so puppet like with Milei. But well, that's another issue. That's another issue, you know.
And actually, that's what I wanted to ask you. Your country was, in a way, first victim of Donald Trump. Milei came to power as a revolutionary politician, as a big baddie of Donald Trump. They were friends.
Yeah.
You know what I
With
mean.
Musk and until
So,
Palantir now, he came 2 days before.
I didn't know about Peter Thiel coming to Argentina. So the ties are getting even closer between you and the United States. Oh, that's crazy. What do they want? What does Palantir want in Argentina now?
You know, well, this kind of software that they give to Israel, for example, to murder 170 students. You know, this kind of, they are accurate. This kind of software accurate is unbelievable to understand now. And I think for sure that communication, Thiel, he was in a meeting with Caputo, that is a strong man in the government, and he was with Milei. Of course, that meetings are not public, and we don't know nothing that talk and that conference that they have it. But we suppose that Argentina is going to be like a lab in Latin America to try to handle, you know, all this kind of soft text and you know all that Palantir do, you know, and it's unbelievable because I was hearing you in the first part of your question, and okay, all this happened in Argentina with not only throwing one bomb, you know. It's insane how the society changed so radically, and it's difficult to understand. And believe me, we are in 2026. He started in late 2023, but I can tell you that we are continuing in a like kind of state of shock, because you can understand conservative governments, right-winger governments or left-winger governments, but this kind of situation that we are having right now is difficult to put in a rational way. So with this situation of Thiel or the way of Milei is you know working with the media and talking in this kind of diplomatic disaster that he's doing around the world it's difficult to put to understand how a guy like him, you know, arrived to the presidency. It's amazing.
You have mentioned diplomatic disaster, and my immediate reaction was to remember it was 10 days ago where he was caught on camera singing and dancing in Israel on some event. I don't know, it was completely crazy. I don't know what was the purpose. But I have to ask you this question. It just came to my mind, and you might know the answer, I don't know it. Have you heard the rumor that actually Milei and Netanyahu have the same last name, family name, that they changed afterwards, and that they're actually cousins? Is that true or not?
I never hear about that. For me, it's not true. And even though, you know, the father of Milei, he get a conversion, you know, in the Judaism. He doesn't came with a family of tradition of Judaism. Even he is related with this kind of right part of the orthodoxy of the Zionism, that Judaism, that they are, of course, they are supporting Zionism, is called I will tell you in Spanish because it's Chabad Lubavitch. I don't know if you hear about this kind of part of the orthodoxy of the Judaism, but the conversion. If you hear Milei in 2020, in the pandemic time, when he started to be, you know, in the mass media, he never had this kind of messianic ideas. Of course, yes, in the economic way, but not even in the religious stuff. I think that is a situation or a process that starts closer in the time. But the thing you told me before, it's we can understand about that. For sure that he was singing a really popular song in Argentina. It's called Libre from Nino Bravo. But that situation is destroying, all the diplomatic construct that had our country. You know, Maria, that when you think in diplomatic times and diplomatic policy, you're not thinking in one government. And the situation that with Milei is really complicated. And even though, I don't know if you know, but in the 90s, we have two terrorist acts in Argentina. The AMIA and the Mutual, with explosive cars, that they murdered a lot of Argentina, are the two, one of the most important terrorist attacks we have in our history. And we are really, I don't know, if I can tell you that I am really proud of my country in some stuff. For example, in the neutral policy we have in the two main wars in the 20th century. And we were, even though with Malvinas situation, we were working in diplomacy after, the rat and the war of 1982, to trying to recover in a diplomatic way to Malvinas, trying to make achievement, and here like this, and I don't know. You can look that all this kind of effort is now going down. It's difficult to put it and difficult to understand. I can ask to the Serbian audience what was and to any rational or to any narod or people in Europe, or how about if your president take a flag of another country and he put like this to make some kind of waving another flag? It's like you can respect about that, but that's a situation that is unbelievable to understand how we are costumed or in a small time to see this kind of acts and not react. Because Argentinian people, I can tell you about that, Maria, we have a lot of Italian blood, so you can look, even though I am talking with my hands, but we are, when we look this kind of acts of injustice, we go to the street, and now it's like, it's really crazy, look this kind of passive attitude in all the statement of the society, not only in the popular society statement, even though in the middle class, it's difficult to understand. And if you look all the economic numbers and so on, I am not a dogmatic guy, believe me, but everyone are going down. So it's difficult to put in a rational way all the situation we are we are passing by right now in Argentina.
I have done a show a few weeks ago about this bizarre happening in your country, in Argentina, about some Jews exclusive entity being built in Patagonia. What is it going on there? What's the purpose of that? And why is Milei allowing that in your country? There's going to be literally a separate entity.
That question, touched me in a deep way, because I used to talk about this situation 15 years ago. And I remember when I was in policy with my friends and so on, everyone told me, you are crazy, you are a right-winger, you are, the son of Hitler. And the situation about the Jew entity and what they are doing in Patagonia is not, it doesn't start with Milei. It's like, now it's growing in an exponential way. But if you can look in the 70s, our army used to have this situation. Even though Juan Gabriel Lavaque, he was a deputy in the 70s of Argentina, he wrote 2 books publishing how, the soldiers of Israel came to Patagonia, to have this kind of summer holidays and to make some kind of exercise and to make some exploration situations. Of course, that never in our contemporary history, even one mainstream media covered this complicated situation, and all the time they are, like mocking about that, making jokes, totally that you are that all are conspiracy theory. But now it's so in empirical way you can look that if you go to Patagonia, and nobody can deny that. You have to think about that. When you talk about Patagonia, you talk about 1 million kilometer cuadrados. I don't know if you, I don't know the precise. So we have only 2 habitants per kilometer. And when you talk about that, Argentina have the biggest part, the bigger part of Patagonia, but you have a Chilean part as well. So historically, it was like a big space of land that is not habitants. You have a lot of habitants of Argentina. You have some projects in the past time with Peronismo, in the 50s and then in the 70s to try to create populations, to try to put more effort in the state to take habitants and go there, but it was really complicated. Maybe for you have a lot of reasons. I am not going to talk about that right now because it's a long stuff. But I can tell you that the situation that is happening right now, it's not new. Milei is helping, with the 2 hands he has. He's working more in that than to trying to solve the Argentina problems. We have a lot of poverty and economic crisis, and he's not putting only one effort to try to figure out that. And you can look that you can look with your own eyes. So the situation is complicated. For people that are interested, they can search Plan Andina. That was like a theory in that was really having the like hegemonic in the 70s, but now you can look with your own eyes. So I don't know what is going, how is going the government react. For sure that this government is not going to have any kind of reaction, but I am some kind of optimistic because when I look X or when I talk with my friends that maybe 15 years ago they mock with me or some partners that we talk about that. Now they assume the situation, and every act have a reaction. So I think, and this kind of reaction you can't predict when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, but at least I kept with me this kind of maybe childhood goodwill to change or to see Argentinian people get interest to this situation, because it's really important, not only for the present, even for the future, no? Because Patagonia is a strategic place. You have natural resources there. You have a lot of water, drinkable water resources there. So it's a really strategic place for us. And even though for Antarctic or claims from the Antarctic and from or Malvinas, that is not only the islands, is all the surrounding area, in the sea, that you have oil there and you have a lot of resources in the fish stuff and so on that we are claiming, and we have to continue in that way, for sure.
It's funny, how many problems would America solve by taking all Latin America. Even the Israeli problem, if Israel collapses, they have Patagonia now to go to. God forbid, I don't want that to happen. But when you look at the whole picture together with your experience as an Argentinian, and Venezuela was going on there, and Cuba, what's about to happen, obviously, what would you say is strategic goal of Donald Trump? They usually say it's a version of Monroe's doctrine. He wants to have its backyard for itself. But is that the only motive? Or maybe he's trying to push everybody else, including China, out of Latin America and to control all the maritime routes. So he would be the Tsar of that part of the world.
I think both. I think both. With China, it's the other day. It's like the other day I saw in Ushuaia, the capital of Tierra del Fuego, that is our last province near Patagonia, near Malvinas, that a Chinese flag was upraised there. Something which have Serbian people know about this kind of project of minería, of minery and so on that you were fighting. But regarding that situation, I think you have this kind of geopolitical stuff with China. That for sure, when you look the links with China that have Venezuela and Cuba as well. Even Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, she have a really, in my case, good diplomacy because she think in the multilateral kind of signing agreements and trying to have some kind of Bonapartistic situation of trying to handle the diplomacy. But in the other part, I think the Monroe doctrine that you told before, it's like that. It's impossible not to think that we are the backyard, for sure, in the American
imagination,
identity or imaginario. Yeah, imagination that we are the backyard of them.
Facundo, thank you so much for this interview. I enjoyed it. Only the internet was really bad. It's like you're in Iran. Next time, I hope you'll have better internet connection.
Great.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the best.
For that.
It's okay.
Thanks. Maybe this year I will return to Serbia. I will let you know. I think in July or August. I will return to Belgrade. I have a lot of friends in Banja Luka. They are calling me, so I will let you know.
Thank you. Nice to see you and to talk to you. Bye. Večeras je Pravo na reči imao Facundo Seara. Vidimo se sljedećeg utorka. Ja sam Marija Kordić. Ostanite uz RT.